Hello and good afternoon for those of you joining. This is our webinar today on how to amplify your entrepreneurial ecosystem messaging. We know that creating strong, inclusive networks of entrepreneurial support is key to all of our community's economic success and our recovery. However, sharing the story of collective impact, as many of you know, comes with some unique challenges. How do you effectively create and deliver messaging that targets a very diverse audience of entrepreneurs, resource organizations, and many community stakeholders? Well, in today's webinar, you're going to be able to learn communication tips and strategies from local ecosystem builders in Fort Worth, Texas, Northern Louisiana, Iowa, and Puerto Rico. Whether it's social media, chatbots, video content, or traditional communication channels, learn how your peers have leveraged emerging technologies, data, and targeted messaging to inform their own strategies to sustain and bolster entrepreneurship-led economic development and ecosystem building work. A little bit of background about SourceLink before we turn it over to our amazing panel. SourceLink is a national organization working to build vibrant and cohesive entrepreneurial ecosystems that attract startups, accelerate business growth, create jobs, and develop sustainable partnerships. Our team leverages technology and consulting to provide access to a community of economic developers, government leaders, funders, and ecosystem builders who regularly share best practices and lessons learned for building diverse and equitable entrepreneurial ecosystems in more than 65 rural, metro, statewide networks all across the United States. Now, before we begin today, I want to acknowledge just a couple of important items. First of all, and foremost, I want to thank all of our veterans and recognize the important role that they play in our communities this Veterans Day, and especially a thank you to all of our veteran entrepreneurs. We love you, we celebrate you, and we want more of you. And so today is also a very important celebration of you and of our veteran entrepreneurs. Second, today's webinar is part of the International Global Entrepreneurship Network. You can see Dara and I are sporting the pins. We are ready to go. And we for sure want to recognize and thank the wonderful team at GEN for their outstanding efforts to build truly a culture of celebrating entrepreneurship all across the very world. Last, I would be remiss if I didn't give a couple of special shout outs to a few of our SourceLink members who have decided to participate and launch their own networks as part of Global Entrepreneurship Week. These include BizLink Orange, and I have something for everybody. Here's my BizLink Orange. Hopefully you can see that coffee mug that they've provided me. They're our Central Florida affiliate. They're doing amazing work. Be sure to check them out. And SourceLink Nebraska announced this week that they will be launching their network formally next Tuesday, so be on the lookout for that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about our background. So my name is Rob Williams. I serve as director of SourceLink. In this role, I inspire and lead a diverse collection of organizations who are all working in the entrepreneurship-led economic development space. At SourceLink, our team deploys platform systems and proven methodologies that our affiliate partners put to use to identify, connect, be empowered, and measure job creation and growth. We hold regular convenings with all of our affiliate leaders, share best practices through online and in-person engagements like this one today. All right, Dara, I'm gonna send it over to you so you can give a little background about yourself.
Thank you, Rob. Hello, everyone. I'm Dara Macon, and I work very closely with the SourceLink team, including Rob. I joined SourceLink about 5.5 years ago and serve as the Director of Strategic Partnerships, Engagement, and General Outreach. In my role, my work includes working with organizations that have a national, sometimes even a global footprint, like GEN. Also, groups like public sector entities, higher ed, entrepreneur support organizations, and also economic developers across the country. I also, in this role, I have the pleasure of spending a lot of time with communities as they're thinking about how to build this infrastructure to support their small businesses. So I've been able to work personally with each of our guest speakers that we've invited today. And I am confident that you're going to take away ideas that you can implement in your own communities. So just real quickly, we're going to be introducing you to 4 of our affiliates. Launch Network, the group called Sparkyard in Fort Worth, our Puerto Rico friends, Colmena 66, and then Iowa SourceLink. Because they're busy, many of them with their own GEW events today, we went ahead and recorded their presentations. So we won't be taking questions during the presentations live, but Rob and I are going to allow a few minutes at the end to respond to any questions that you might want to drop into the chat feature. So as you're listening to the presenters, feel free to drop any comments or ideas that you'd like us to touch on at the end. And then also, if there's something that really catches your attention and you'd like to connect with that presenter, we are more than happy if you'll just drop a note in the chat to us and we can make that personal introduction. And then also within the next 48 hours, we'll send a follow-up email. So you will also have a link to the webinar. So with that, I think we're going to quickly introduce you to the panelists. They'll also tell you a little bit about themselves, but we have Preston Langley with Launch Network. It's our affiliate in Northern Louisiana. And he's going to talk about how he's tapped into resources offered particularly with the libraries. And he's come up with a really cool strategy to bring them more closely into the network and also to really tap into the myriad of resources and make those visible. Then you'll hear from Marco Johnson and Cameron Cushman with Sparkyard in Fort Worth. They're going to talk a bit about a white paper. They pulled in some survey community sourced around the state of Fort Worth ecosystems. And they've also done an update on net job creation by young and new firms. Then we'll hear from Denise and Natalia, at our Colmena 66 affiliate. They're going to give you some great ideas on how to leverage YouTube to engage your audiences. And then we'll have a wrap up from Kyle Kugler with Iowa SourceLink, which is one of our very long-standing networks. And they've looked at how to leverage chatbots to improve entrepreneur engagement so that there is 24/7 accessibility for their entrepreneurs. And that is also helping drive some decisions for the folks at Iowa SourceLink around content and how to leverage the website. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Preston Langley.
Give me just a second, guys.
Hello, everyone. My name is Preston Langley. I work for the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is a division of the BRF. Our initiative is called Launch Network, and I currently serve as the project lead for that organization. We launched during COVID, actually, November of 2020. So we are right at a year of launching, and we've been so honored to be able to work with the SourceLink team and happy to share with you some of our best practices and tips in launching your own programs or different ways that you can support your entrepreneurial populations in your areas. So of course, for Launch Network, so we really wanted to emphasize 4 super easy ways to interact with our tool. So we have our events calendar. We're really fortunate to have active participants all across the 21 parishes, with most of them having virtual sessions for things. It makes it easy for someone in Tensaw Parish all the way up to the Mississippi line to still be able to interact with the tool, to still be able to get valuable resources for networking, training, certifications, different things going on. Since it's online, it reduces that barrier for them to still be able to have access to the different things that they need for their business. And that's really important for us in our opportunity population. There's a bit of a disparity there with access to information, access to high-speed internet. And so we wanted to make sure, even in some of the more rural parts, that through some of these partnerships, we could connect these future entrepreneurs with the tools that they needed in a way that reduced that anxiety, to make sure that they were able to understand that they can be a business owner, that they didn't have to go to business school, they didn't have to have access to thousands of dollars of capital just to start the process of becoming a business owner. So of course, through our resource navigator, we made sure that everything was very updated, very timely. We made sure that it was easy for people to understand. So kind of that online yellow page directory, we found a lot of success with making sure that we formatted things a little bit differently in a way for the everyday average consumer, the everyday average person to understand. For our network hotline, or our helpline, that 1877 number, it was important for us to make sure that there was a live representative on the other end of that phone, Monday through Friday, 9 through 5, for someone to ask questions. A lot of times people feel intimidated whenever they're journeying into the thoughts of becoming an entrepreneur, and they're not really sure what information they need, and they might not even know the questions that they have to ask. But we make sure that our team, led by myself, is there to answer any questions that they have, even if it's just, hey, I just have a question about, what is this? I'm not really sure where to go from there. We make sure to have those conversations with them early on and often to kind of help them throughout their journey. So if they have any questions, once we're able to kind of break down some of that initial hesitancy about becoming a business owner, they feel comfortable calling us back, and we're able to follow up with them and keep them on that path of becoming a business owner as long as they want to be there. And then through our Site Connects blog, we've had a lot of success. We've got over 20 blogs published, guest authored, from other members of the community on all sorts of professional topics, everything from marketing, everything to what is an LLC or different business designations. We wanted that to be a focus point for people to tell about their organizations and their expertise in a way that was most helpful to questions that most entrepreneurs had, but might be too afraid to ask. And that's one of our aspects of our tool that we have that people interact with the most. And so we want to make sure that we're updating that as often as we can. And we get a lot of feedback for different questions that people have through not only the blog, but through people contacting us. Hey, I'm not really sure about this. Have you thought about this? So that's a really good way to close in that feedback loop for us, to make sure that we're able to improve upon some of the things that we're focused on, to make sure that we're really and truly meeting the needs of the community. So two things that I think really aided us to make sure very early on that we were able to keep up our processes and make sure that the people coming to the website, the potential clients, really had access to the information that they needed very quickly, is we developed a opt-in to where at multiple click points throughout the website, it's very easy for people to give us the relevant information for us to be able to get to them and get them the information that they need. So of course, people can contact us through the contact us form on the website. There's a client intake form, there's a 1877 number, but a lot of times if you're really new to something like this and you're already feeling apprehensive because it might not be in a subject area that you're really strong in, you don't spend time looking for a lot of those things. And so we wanted to make sure very early on, your name, your phone number, your email, your zip code, so we could identify that you were in our target service area and start thinking about some of the resource providers that were most beneficial to you. And then what did you need help with? Something super simple. I need help with starting, growing, planning, or funding. Really taking those 4 areas of focus and making it really simple from a brand unifying message made it a lot easier for people to find the type of assistance that they needed very early on. So we created some processes through this opt-in form, and we've got some internal metrics that we track here as well. But this has made it really easy for us to keep track of everyone, to make sure that no one is slipping through the cracks, to make sure that people are getting the assistance that they need, to make sure that they're getting timely assistance. That, coupled with a couple of other things, making sure that we were able to more easily follow up with the future entrepreneur to be able to get what they truly needed going forward. And so, of course, people can continue to self-navigate throughout the website. People can find what it is that they're looking for, and they can use the web page's research information. And one of the things that I want to talk about, if you notice in this top right corner over here, we added a section to our homepage called Library Launch. This was really important for us. We took the advice that SourceLink gave us very early on to heart, and they explained to us that through research, 25 years of research, they found that a sign of really strong entrepreneurial communities had strong partnerships with the public universities and strong partnerships with the public libraries. So we wanted to make sure, especially since our demographic skews more rural, we wanted to make sure that we were able to use the public library, since that is still a very important staple in a lot of these communities. And it's somewhere that's safe. It's somewhere that's unthreatening. It's somewhere that everyone has access to. So we wanted to really and truly go after the public libraries in terms of support to make sure that we were connecting our business support with the public libraries. And we were very fortunate with the way that everything happened, that a lot of the libraries already had strategic initiatives in terms of goals that they needed to form stronger partnerships with the business community. So it really turned out to be a beautiful match made in heaven. And one of the things that we did early on in terms of forming some of those partnerships is we didn't want it to be about just, hey, here's Launch Network, put this in the public libraries. We wanted to really dig into some of the opportunities to figure out how we could help what they were doing succeed more. And so we noticed from looking at a lot of the public library holdings is that there weren't a lot of business books in the public libraries. There weren't a lot of books there in our footprint for different topics such as entrepreneurship, such as business planning. So we developed a top 10 list of books. We circulated it very heavily, and we decided to do a test pilot in three of the parishes that are close to us. We decided to not only just provide this list of books, but we purchased copies of these books, the physical and the actual virtual copy of the books, and provided those three parishes with those books. And we wanted to make sure that this was something, since a lot of people might not necessarily know what was there, we wanted it to be an upfront kind of focal area. And so here on the right, you can see this large pop-up banner that we pulled out where we developed some strategic marketing messaging. And we actually stopped in those three libraries, those three parish libraries, and created an entrepreneur center. And this was really important to make sure that people could see visibly from a public offering that the public libraries were there to support even business owners. And so we tested this out in the three parishes that we were close to, with stocking those books, creating those entrepreneur centers, working with some of the different librarians and some of the different reference librarians to create some of these materials. And I knew very early on that for me, I needed to have a library card. You know, most of us don't think about the information that the public libraries have, and I haven't had a library card since before I could drive. So I went to my home library. I spoke with the library branch director there. This is Miss Hannah, one of the sweetest people in the world you will ever meet. And so I made sure that I got my library card. I made sure that I saw the resources that were available, and that gave me the ability to see this not from a business development standpoint, but from an entrepreneur standpoint. How easy can I access some of the different resources and some of the databases that are there? How easy can I navigate some of the online intake information in terms of some of the references and some of the different databases? Do I know that these things are available? So once we created some of the entrepreneur centers, this is one of the entrepreneur centers with one of our different branches, we were then able to take not only the databases that were available, but we were also able to work with the public libraries for them to be able to increase their card signups. And for them, this was big because this was an initiative that they wanted to start on their own, but didn't really know the best way to go. And so every single time we found out that the libraries were 100% there to serve and there to help the community. And they've been one of our best strategic partnerships that we've been able to form. So what we started doing is after we got the reference centers and the entrepreneur center set up, and we kind of demoed it in some of our 3 closer home parishes, we wanted to extend access to some of the other communities that might not necessarily have those same resources as well. So then we purchased another banner, and we purchased additional holdings, additional copies of those books. And then we started rotating those books with some of the different parishes outside of the 3 main parishes that are closest to our home operations here. So at present, we've been able to work with Natchitoches Parish, we've been able to work with Washita Parish, and we've been able to work with one of our most impoverished parishes to be able to increase access in those communities. And we've seen overwhelmingly positive responses. Everyone from mayors and local elected officials to university presidents and different business professors have really wrapped their arms around the libraries to make sure that these types of partnerships between economic development agencies and entrepreneurial support agencies, as well as different public offerings, to make sure that people knew about it. So every single time we approached a parish, hey, we've got these resources, we want to buy this for you, we want to make this available. Every single time it was yes and. And the and included things such as the libraries purchasing 100 different copies of these books to be able to display as well, or them being able to showcase and wanting to offer through adult programming different seminars on walking library patrons through how to access some of these different services. So we've really been able to celebrate different things like Gale courses or LinkedIn Learning, which offers free certifications in not only just classes or learning paths to be able to navigate some of the trickier parts of entrepreneurship or business ownership if you're not familiar with it, but for the libraries to be able to offer that to the public really solidified in a lot of these areas where people might not have visited a public library in some time. It really signified to those areas that the libraries are really and truly there to assist with whatever you need. And it's free. All it takes is a library card and you get access to all of this and more. And so we're really thankful for being able to work with the public libraries and for them supporting our efforts. And we wanted to make sure that at every possible turn, if there is a way for us to support the libraries as well, we did. So on that library launch page I showed you just a moment ago, we have links to each of the public libraries. We have, if there is a virtual online card sign up, we've got that information there as well as different useful databases and kind of walking you through how to use some of those services. And that's been some of our more popular content that clients have been interacting with because they recognize now that the value that the public libraries have, which I think is beautiful. And I think that that's really and truly what Launch Network and some of these different ecosystem building tools are about, being able to not reinvent something, but to create something, to take something that's already there, that's been created, and to work with other organizations for the same goal of assisting the public and being able to grow our economy and being able to really and truly strengthen and make more visible the support that's available for people. So if you have any questions about anything, we have all of our contact information here in terms of social media. You can follow us on Facebook at Launch Network LA, Instagram as well. We also do have our LinkedIn page, and coming soon, we will have our Twitter page up and running here. And now we'll turn it over to our good friends over at Sparkyard, Marco and Cameron. Bye.
Thanks, Preston. My name's Cameron Cushman, and I am coming to you from the University of North Texas Health Science Center at Fort Worth. So howdy from Fort Worth, the 13th largest city in the country. And let my colleague introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Marco Johnson, also at the UNT Health Science Center. I'm the Sparkyard network builder.
And Sparkyard is our version of SourceLink. So I want to talk to you guys today about 2 things that we've done recently in our ecosystem that I hope will be inspiring to you as you think about ways you can influence policy, decision makers, business leaders to help stoke the fires of your own entrepreneurial community. So the first thing that I want to share is a white paper that we wrote over the summer. And let me give you kind of the political background on this. So we have a brand new mayor in the city of Fort Worth. She is the youngest mayor of a large city in the country. She's 37 years old, and talked a lot in her campaign about innovation, entrepreneurship, all of our topics. So it was a great opportunity for us to engage a new leader of the city who seemed to be talking about this stuff on the campaign trail. Second, we have a brand new city council. 5 out of our 9 city council seats turned over, and the average age of our city council went down by 15 years. So we have a much younger city council as well. Plus, the city's growing like crazy. And so we just thought it was a good opportunity to put some of these ideas, wrap some of these ideas that we talk about a lot into one place, put them out there, and hopefully try to change the hearts and minds of those in power in our city and in our regional governments. So we put this white paper together. It was also done to avoid the kind of classic political idea that you form a blue ribbon panel, so to speak, and they study an issue, and then they come back in 6 months and they've written a report, and then that report gets a big hoopla in the press, and then it sits on a shelf and collects dust and nothing ever happens with it. So we thought we'd just shorten that time cycle and basically give our politicians and local leaders the items they should do, the playbook, right up front at the beginning of their administration. And we were very intentional about how we did this. We didn't make this look like it was coming from us in an ivory tower. We didn't want this to look like it was coming from the top down. We wanted this to look like it was coming from the bottom up. And so on here, you won't see anybody's names. This was written by the startup community. We titled it Building a Startup Metropolis in Fort Worth. And you'll see as we kind of walk through here, you'll see all the different things that we did in order to bring this to bear. So first off, we talk about the problem. Then we talk about some of the data, and I'll talk a little bit about the jobs data in here that you'll see in a minute. So the point we're trying to make here, really 2 points. One is startups and new companies actually create a lot more jobs than anybody realizes. And that's in terms of what politicians think about. They think in terms of jobs. And so we wanted to make sure that we captured that. The second thing is we wanted to show where Fort Worth ranked as far as entrepreneurial funding, how many companies are started in Fort Worth every year. And we are significantly behind some of our Texas peers, despite being not too far behind them in our population. So you can see some of the data here as we use to try to make the case. Then we go down and we jump into the actual recommendations. Now, some of these recommendations are things we talked about a lot before. Some of these are kind of new things that we were trying to introduce into the community. And it's everything from, and we basically divided it up into 2 sections. One is things that the city government should consider doing. Now, we all know that governments and entrepreneurship don't always mix very well, but it's important for them to think about this, to think about some of these kind of things. And our goal all along has been, even if we could just get 1 or 2 of these things accomplished, it would be a win. The second chunk was things the community needed to do. Fort Worth is the largest city in the country that does not have an accelerator program. Well, is that on the government to fix? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe that's on the corporate sector. Maybe that's on the philanthropic sector to go in and invest in some of these early stage ideas and early stage companies. And so this is where we're also able to address non-governmental entities like the Chamber of Commerce, and to try to fix some gaps in our community that frankly we need some help with and the community needs some help with. The third chunk that we did was an education piece, right? Our city doesn't talk about these things. We felt like there was a gap in kind of the education of what we needed to do to help our city move forward. So 3 chunks, I think I said 2 earlier, 3 chunks: what the government can do, what the community can do, and then an education piece. Then we also added a community poll function so we could get a sense of what was popular, what was resonating with people. And you can actually see the results here. When you go to the website the first time, and you can see all this at startupfortworth.com, you can actually vote. So you're seeing the results, but when you go to it the first time, you actually get the opportunity to vote. And the last thing that we did that I think was one of the most important parts was we realized that we didn't have all the ideas. We realized that we didn't have all the answers. We realized that maybe some of our ideas are terrible, and that's okay, because we gave the community an opportunity to chime in and say, I agree with this, thumbs up, let's move this forward. We also had the opportunity to say, we gave people the opportunity to say, these are terrible ideas. Here's what I would do instead. Or make sure if you looked at this program. We also added some sponsors, so to speak, of this, people who agreed with us. We've got both some on a national level, like the Center for American Entrepreneurship and Right to Start. We also got some local institutions to support us as well, like the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, who we partner with on some other initiatives. So that's where we ended up as far as our white paper goes. And we got some good attention in the press, but we do still have some work to do as far as getting some of these policy things passed. And we are actively working on that. Marco, what did I miss?
Great job, Cameron. Yeah, so you did a great overview there. I'd say this is important because we have two ways of getting the information out. We have the website that we showed off here, which is very interactive, where people can get in and leave their comments, as you can see here. But that is all just an overview of the actual report. So you can download the report again at startupfortworth.com. It's very quick. It's short. It's just 8 pages. We made it really easy to get through, really accessible. Again, the audience was for a variety of stakeholders, but really targeted towards our new mayor and city council people, and just handing them the report so we don't have to bring in that expensive consulting firm from outside of Fort Worth who has spent a lot of time and money just figuring out who we are and what do we need. We already know that. We've been working here for years. We understand. Cameron and I have been having the conversations for years with other ecosystem builders. And so this is really the fruits of all of that labor. And we're proud with how it's been received so far. Cameron?
Absolutely. And again, if you want to learn more, read the report, go to startupfortworth.com, startupfortworth.com. Feel free to steal liberally from this thing. We would love nothing more than for any of you to pick up these ideas and run with them in your own community. The only thing I would ask is tell us, let us know what resonated in your community, and let us know if you have better ideas. We're always looking for better ideas. So for the next piece, I want to drill down a little bit on our data component, particularly a jobs report that we released during last year's Global Entrepreneurship Week. And we just released a second version of this on Tuesday, November 9th, for Global Entrepreneurship Week. So you can see Marco has pulled up our SparkYard first annual jobs report from 2020. And let me back up a second. The reason we did this and the reason this is important is because policymakers and economic development individuals focus on jobs. They want to know how many jobs are going to be created by whatever action is that they're taking, giving an incentive, attending a conference, recruiting, any of those sort of things. And so we wanted to say, well, what is the startup community's contribution to job creation in our area? And we really stole the great work that the SourceLink folks had done in the Kansas City area, in the state of Iowa, in the state of Missouri. And we said, can we do that here? And it took us forever to get the right data set. And we actually didn't get the data set we wanted, but we were able to figure out the number of jobs created by new firms in Tarrant County. This is our county. It's about 2 million people. It's the county where Fort Worth is the largest municipality, but it's actually 41 different municipalities. We ended up releasing this report last year that showed that new firms, which we defined as 0 to 1 years old, actually created over 25,000 jobs a year, which is way more than anybody would have guessed. And that number had been pretty consistent over the 5 years before that. Then we took a look at how that compared to the other big counties in North Central Texas, where we're located, and the other big counties in Texas, the counties surrounding San Antonio, Houston, and Austin. And we got to see how we shook out. And I think it was a much bigger number than anybody realized. And another way to think about this is at 25,000 jobs, that's half of an Amazon HQ2. And everybody freaked out about that deal a few years ago. And we said, your startup community is creating half of that every year with the current levels of involvement. Imagine what we could do if we did even more. So fast forward to this year, with the help of Dara and her team at SourceLink, we redid the study with 2019 numbers, which was the best available data from the United States Census Department, and the number ticked up significantly. So this year, I'm pleased to announce that new companies defined as firms 0 to 1 years old, or at least in 2019, created almost 30,000 jobs. The exact number is 29,979. So by most accounts, that rounds up to 30,000. but we also upwardly revised the previous years. The 2018 number went up by about 3,000 jobs to 28,131, as census got a better handle on the data from previous years as well. So we can now make the argument that support for new companies, the newest of the new, 0 to 1 years old, creates companies or creates almost 30,000 jobs in our county every year. Marco, what would you add to that?
A couple of things. So first of all, this is a really crucial number for us to be able to advocate for support for entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial resource providers. This is huge. Whenever we share this number with anybody in the city or the county, or really anybody, their eyes pop out of their head. They just can't believe that this is happening organically here in Tarrant County without a whole lot of intention around, hey, please, let's all go out and start businesses. This is just organically happening. So that's really incredible and powerful for us as we advocate for entrepreneurship. The other thing is we really want to give a shout out and acknowledge Kate Hodel at SourceLink, who launched this and did the great work first in Kansas City. And we got really jealous of that and took this on, and she really helped us with the first year. And I know Kate has since retired, but this has got her DNA all over it, and really grateful to SourceLink for all their great support in helping us get this done.
And I'll give one final plug. If you want this in your community, call the great folks at US SourceLink, and they can help you identify how to do this in your community. It'll be time and money and effort well spent, I promise you. So that's it for us from Fort Worth. Let me kick it over to Denise and Natalia.
Thank you so much, Cameron and Marco. That was very enlightening. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be part of this panel. I'm Denise Rodriguez, and I am director of Colmena 66, which is Puerto Rico's version of SourceLink. And I'm here with my colleague, Natalia Alicea, who's our digital marketing strategist. And we're gonna share with you our strategies and our how-tos of how to use YouTube to engage your audience. So, and you can go to the next slide, Natalia, thank you. Okay, so brief overview to kind of give you a sense of why we started looking at YouTube as a method to share our content and get to and reach our audience. So it's very important that you know your audience, you know your community. And so we knew for a fact that there's a lack of education and content in entrepreneurship topics in Spanish. And we know that that's how our audience prefers to learn in their native language, which is Spanish. So that was a huge gap. And in the beginning, it was very overwhelming. We had no idea how to tackle it because it's just a huge gap. So we just started little by little creating content, multimedia. Then comes the pandemic. And we saw how everything was shifting to digital, and people were consuming content on their cell phones and they were on digital devices all day long. And so we were able to swiftly move our strategy to YouTube. So here the learning is, know your audience, and you have to go where your audience is at. Go to, and it's how us ecosystem builders already think, right? All of you know that we have to go to our entrepreneurs and meet them where they're at. So that also translates to your marketing strategy and how you put content out there. We wanted to have evergreen educational content for entrepreneurs to mitigate risk and be resilient to COVID-19, but also future crises that might arise. In Puerto Rico, we've been through hurricanes, earthquakes, and the pandemic in just 4 years. So there's a theme here of just, being more resilient and being ready for the next crisis. Also, this raised for us an opportunity to diversify our source of funding, because Natalia will dive a little bit more into how you can monetize that. And we saw that it was an opportunity for us to improve our SEO positioning. So as people search for content, how to start a business in Puerto Rico, in Spanish and such, we wanted to be the top 2 results that they got on Google or whatever their search engine. And also we're always looking at, we like to make, or for us, it's important, I should say, to make data-driven decisions. So always be on the lookout to understand your audience and the data that you can find out about them. So we, for us, it's important to gauge that through surveys, through rankings and indices that help us understand, and when we're a small group, how to best deploy our limited resources. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Natalia, and she's going to show you how we did this.
Hi, thank you, Denise. So the first thing that we want to share with you guys is 5 questions that will help guide your YouTube content strategy. So the first one is, does the video answer a need? Any video that will not answer a need about our audience, it may not get the results that we want. So that's the first question that you should ask yourself. What are the keywords relevant to this topic? Have other people already talked about this topic? How have they done it? Which title works best? How have they promoted the content, and how do I reach audience that is going to be interested in this content? And how do we answer all these questions? We're going to see it right now. So first impressions count. Place most relevant series first. On our YouTube channel, we have our most and searchable tool, the Tu Camino Empresarial, so that people understand why is Colmena 66 doing what we do. So keep the channel layout clean and organized so your audience can navigate correctly your YouTube channel and feels confident with the content that you're providing. Share the series or single videos on YouTube groups, newsletter, and social media. We're going to talk about that on the next slide. And keep your videos short so that it can get the most views, and summarize all the content that you have on social media that it will definitely drive traffic to your YouTube channel. Leverage your website with your YouTube content. You have videos that can be inserted on your website. You can have a summary of what they are going to see on that YouTube channel or video, and you can share your initiatives and all the things that you're doing in your organization through that video, and it can humanize your brand. Do A/B tests on titles. The first question that you should ask on this one is to think about how your audience is going to search for that content. Understand how others have done it, and try to insert and adapt that content and that titles on that conversation so you can stay relevant with that conversations that they're doing. Try to do that on Google, try to do that on social media, and even on YouTube, so you can stay relevant. Try to do that weekly, monthly, so you can understand how the conversation is going and how others have done it. Create webinars and live events. This will help so much to update and increase the subscribers and the content that you're having on your YouTube channel. Identify the gap on your community and develop content such as webinars and upload it to YouTube so you can share it eventually to your social media channels, and that will drive traffic to your YouTube channel. You can create that by carousels or infographics or mini lives that you can have like on your social media platforms, that it will drive traffic to your YouTube channel to see more about it. Create playlists of your webinars so it can stay organized, and your audience can understand what am I seeing and how do I see it in an organized way. It will facilitate the searchability and content consumption. Share it on your social media and invite your audience to share it as well. Share it on Facebook group. That's where your most loyal audience is. So you have to take advantage of that and share it and make them engage and comment and create a conversation with that community. So it can drive traffic to your YouTube channel. Share it on social media, as I said before. Copy that link and share it on your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or if you cannot share the link directly because Instagram doesn't provide that like it does with Facebook, we'll create a carousel and highlight the content that is going to be available on that video. That will help with the engagement, the sharing, the saves, and it will definitely position your brand and your channel. Share it on the newsletters. So that's where the most connected your audience is. So try to, every time that you upload a new video, share it through your newsletter so they can know what's new on your YouTube channel, so they can navigate. The urgency of them trying to keep up with the content that you're trying to provide them will make them go and watch it on your YouTube channel. And track your results. From 2019 to 2020, we saw an unprecedented increase of our subscribers, 758%. So that's a lot. We have implemented the YouTube strategies that I've tried to share with you guys. So it definitely works, and you have to adapt it to your organization and your strategy so it can work. Tips and tricks to finalize this. Try to always make these questions for you. Is my title searchable? What words will my audience type as they search for this content? Does my content respond to and satisfy a need? Include relevant keywords on the descriptions and titles. That's what is going to make your content searchable on other search engines. Be specific and consistent. Share it and meet your audience where they are. So thank you very much. Denise, if anything else that you want to share? If so, thank you so much. Now we can pass it to IR SourceLink. Bye.
Well, thank you very much, Denise and Natalia, for transitioning over to myself. My name is Kyle Kugler. I work at the University of Northern Iowa on the Iowa SourceLink website that is a partnership between the University of Northern Iowa and the Iowa Economic Development Authority. There I work as a program associate alongside my colleagues, Patrick Lunsman, who's a program manager. We work in a specific department called the John Papa John Entrepreneurial Center. We recently have kind of transitioned there ourselves, and now we're helping more of like student-led businesses as well as statewide businesses, which is really exciting. I also have another colleague, Sophie Troxel. She works also as a program associate alongside me, as well as Amy Coolers, who works at the Iowa Economic Development Authority. Together, we just try to keep the website up and running and make sure that we're kind of like the one-stop shop for everything business in Iowa. Whether you're wanting to start a business, grow it, fund it, exit it, innovate it, whatever it may be, we want to help. So today I was actually asked to talk about a tool that we started using this year to better help our website visitors all the time. And essentially what that is a chatbot. So let's go ahead and get started with what exactly that is if you haven't heard of one. I'm assuming a lot of people probably have on those bigger named websites that are out there. A lot of people are starting to incorporate them. A chatbot is essentially a tool that allows organizations to connect with their customers and clients when they're maybe not available. So if it's the weekend, maybe it's after hours, whatever it may be, you can still communicate with your clients automatically. The bot basically works for you. Potentially, maybe you just have a small team and you don't have enough people to actually talk with everybody. As those questions are coming in, this bot can actually help kind of filter out those questions. And then at the very end, you can work with people if their questions haven't been answered. And then additionally, you may have additional resources on your website that customers or clients maybe have not been able to find, or maybe it's a little harder for them to find because it takes a little while for them to get to that content. Chatbots can kind of help point them in the right direction and actually overshare information with them that maybe they weren't able to find before. So we basically came to this point where we just had a lot of repetitive questions, and we had a lot of people asking for the same type of resources over and over again. And no matter how we changed our website, it always just turned out being that they had a hard time finding certain things. So to answer that, we came up with this idea of incorporating a chatbot on our website to do basically what I just described before. But now this chatbot that we are calling Sprout, kind of like sprouting an idea, a new venture, a new journey, whatever it may be. That's kind of our little mascot for Iowa SourceLink. And Sprout essentially helps connect our website visitors to our how-to guides. So like I said, people come to our website looking to start a business. We have a how-to guide to do that, and Sprout can kind of point our website visitors in that direction. Also registering their business with the state. That's another important thing that people do and sometimes they get confused with, and Sprout can help with that and give them contact information. Additionally, they can sign up for our newsletter directly through the chatbot, which is really nice. And I have some stats about that later on. And then additionally, like one-on-one help as well. So like I said, if you don't have enough people on your team, the chatbot can answer as many questions as it possibly can. But if it can't answer those questions, you can then basically write a ticket for that person and then follow up with them at a later date and say, hey, we saw you were interacting with our chatbot, didn't get your questions answered. So I'm here to help. How can I help? So I kind of ended it off here with collecting data on our visitors. This is very important for us just to keep building and knowing exactly where our numbers are and where we can go to. Since we started using this chatbot earlier the year, I don't remember the exact month. It would have been probably February or March of this year, I believe. We actually have had 639 total chats with our website visitors over those months, which is really great that many people have actually used the chatbot and interacted with it. And from that, we actually have a survey. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place here, but before the conversation actually starts with the chatbot, one thing that we wanted to incorporate was a way to understand who our website visitors are in real time. So before somebody can actually ask their question to Sprout the chatbot, we ask them 3 questions. One being the state that the visitors are in. We're located in Iowa. Most people are from Iowa that are there. We just want to figure out like where within the state they're actually from, how exactly they heard about us, and what is the stage of their business. So far for those past 6-7 months that we've had this chatbot, almost 75% of people haven't started their business or they've started it and needed help. So that kind of helps us gauge where our website visitors are and the type of content that we should be putting out and sharing in front of them. 70% of them just found us searching online randomly, so that's great for our SEO efforts. And then additionally, almost 65% of the people that have visited us live in central or eastern Iowa. And this can also help us gauge what type of events to push out into our newsletters, webinars that we do in different parts of our website. And then lastly, we've actually had 54 people sign up for our newsletter using the chatbot. So it's just an additional arm to keep growing our newsletter. So far, these are just some of the key benefits, and you can see an image over here on the right side. This is just like a basic interaction that somebody would have. Maybe they say, I want to register my business. The chatbot basically gives them a basic breakdown of like, hey, these are the different types of options that you have. And they can click through and find the answers that they're after, whether they want to start a sole proprietorship, LLC, or maybe they're not even sure, then they can follow up with us directly and we can help them with that. So far, the benefits that we've seen is that this kind of frees up our time. A lot of time was spent answering repetitive questions. Where do I go to register for taxes? Where do I go to file for an LLC? These things can be automated, and we saw that and we've answered it. And now the bot can actually work on our behalf. So we have more time to think bigger picture things. Additionally, we have a better understanding of our website visitors in real time versus what we knew before, which is just, hey, they just came from searching online, but now we actually know, actually 80% of them are from Iowa, 75% of them are just starting out their business, whereas before maybe we thought it was only half of them. So we have a better understanding. Yeah. Go into this one. So I just wanted to show y'all this very simple breakdown of like how we built our chatbot. Specifically us, the one that we decided on was the chatbot from chatbot.com. They actually have another tool that you can incorporate on your website to interact with people in real time. So it's like an actual agent is sitting there talking to you. Maybe you talk to somebody when you're on a website and you're talking to a real agent. That's the option that's there. We don't have the capability to do that with just the sheer numbers that we have. So we felt the chatbot would be a better option for us. It's just a very basic breakdown of like, if this, then that, point A to point C, how are you going to direct the person? That's kind of shown over here on this image on the left side. And then on the right side, you can kind of see the structure of how you actually respond to questions. So somebody says, hey, I'm looking to learn about your how-to guides. The chatbot says, okay, let me pull up our guides. And then we have a list of all of the different ones that we have. Give them options like exploring the guide. Maybe they can download it where we can collect more information on them. Really, it's kind of limitless, which is great. And you can customize it to your organization. So far, the biggest thing that we've learned is that giving our website visitors a predetermined path based off of their responses is way better than having an AI-driven response. And what I mean by that is when you're first starting out and you have no data that anybody has put into, no responses, no questions or anything that any of your visitors has put into the chatbot is not smart enough to answer those questions, at least right away until you get enough data. So when we started, that was exactly what we did. Somebody would go to our website and they would say, the chatbot would say, I want to do X. Well, the chatbot would understand 2 words from that sentence, but wouldn't understand beehive in the park at this. It had no idea. And then it would say, oh, so you want to start an ice cream truck? Like it made absolutely no sense and it drove people insane. So we scrapped that, redid it. And now basically everyone is presented with a set of answers to whatever their possible questions could be. So are you wanting to start a business? Are you wanting to learn about licensing? Do you want to sign up for our newsletter? Whatever it may be, they click those buttons and then the chatbot brings them from point A to point B to point C to point D and so on. This seems to get people to their answers a lot, or their questions a lot faster, answers to their questions a lot faster. And we've had a lot less messages saying, hey, your thing's kind of screwed up. It doesn't really make sense. So that's just kind of a tip if you are wanting to do something like this, to consider doing this predetermined path before you start on an AI-driven path of this bot answering the question just because it thinks that it's correct. So that's basically it in a nutshell. If you do have any questions, feel free to go to www.iasourcelink.com. There's our email right there, info@iasourcelink.com, our phone number. If you want to go to learn about the chatbot, you can. And then if you have any questions, you can contact us and we'd be more than willing to answer, help you out. And yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, that was great.
Yes.
This was like taking notes the entire time and all this, these good ideas and marveling at the chatbot and the AI. I hope you all felt the same. A lot of really good things happening, a lot of good tips and processes and approaches were definitely shared. I don't know that I saw any specific questions, Sarah. So I think what we'll do is go ahead and we only have about 3 minutes anyway. So let's go ahead and wrap up. If you would like for us to follow up with you, go ahead and drop in your email address or phone into the chat and we can do that. Otherwise, you can always email us at hello@joinsourcelink, or Dara and I, our direct contact information is on the slide. We would love to connect you with any one of the folks that you heard from today or anyone else in our network that interests you. We want to make sure to thank the Global Entrepreneurship Network team, Jonathan Ortmans, all of the incredible folks there that are celebrating and building the culture of entrepreneurship globally. We definitely want to thank all of our expert panels. And most importantly, all of you who attended, we really appreciate it. As a reminder, we will send a wrap up with a link to the recording. We're going to get this up onto YouTube because that's what we heard we should do as soon as possible, maybe even this afternoon. If you did find this presentation helpful, we would love for you to join in the online celebration of everything GEW. Go ahead and share a post, use the hashtag GEW2021 and also the hashtag GEW ecosystems. And with that, thank you everybody and happy Veterans Day. Take care and enjoy the rest of Global Entrepreneurship Week.